So I've just finished wrapping up this vlog and I remembered I didn't actually film a proper introduction, so I'm gonna do that now. In this reading vlog, as you have possibly guessed from the title and the thumbnail, I am gonna be reading two new fantasy releases. So we have A Study in Drowning by Reid and Inkblood Sister Scribe by Emma Törzs. This is YA and this is adult, but what they both have in common is that they both focus on literature and books. They're both being marketed as dark academia, and having now finished both of these books, I think that they're dark academia adjacent rather than true dark academia. But I will stop rambling in this intro because obviously I do go into my thoughts on these books throughout the vlog. But yeah, if you're interested in hearing my thoughts on either of these, then keep watching and I hope you enjoy the vlog. So it's currently Monday and I have tried to introduce this vlog several times and it's not really working. So I think I'm gonna get into my thoughts on the book that I'm currently reading and I'll film an introduction once I'm a little more awake. Basically, I did not sleep very well last night. I think I got around 3 or 4 hours sleep. So my brain feels like mush and I'm struggling, but it is currently Monday, so I wanted to start the vlog today and talk you through my thoughts on A Study in Drowning by Reid. I have taken the dust jacket off the hardback so I can read more comfortably, but I started this yesterday morning and then I read some more in the evening. This is a dark academia YA fantasy. I didn't actually know that it was YA going into it because I have read another book by this author. I read The Wolf and the Woodsman last year, I think it was, and that's adult, but I think this is their YA debut. So far, it doesn't feel like YA. It doesn't feel like the writing is any different to The Wolf and the Woodsman, but The Wolf and the Woodsman was very graphically violent, and I'm guessing that's going to be the main difference between that and this book. Possibly it's going to be a little more toned down, but I think we're still going to have themes of trauma just based on some stuff that's happened so far. So basically in this book we're following a main character called Effie, who is a first-year university student. So she is currently studying architecture, but she really wanted to study literature. Unfortunately, this world has a very sexist society, or at least the university is sexist because they don't believe that women should be allowed to attend the literature college. So she chose architecture as her second option. In the very first chapter, we learn that the family of this famous author who recently passed away is looking for students who can redesign his home. So you can possibly see actually on the cover, it overlooks this big stormy cliff face. And yeah, this family are looking for students who might be able to redesign this home. And Effie thinks this is a fantastic opportunity. She feels like this opportunity was made for her because this author was, or yes, still is, I guess, her favourite author of all time. She grew up reading this one book in particular that was about this fairy king and his human bride, and she started having like dreams and visions about this story, which we don't know much about yet, but basically she applies to redesign this home and she's accepted. So she travels to this town, this very isolated setting where she's going to be taken on this task. And so far the writing is perfect for autumn. There's been a lot of long descriptions of the setting and I feel like I'm there and it's just perfect. Unfortunately, the weather is not perfect autumn weather. It's very sunny and very warm, but not the vibe that I was really hoping for this month when I'm going to be reading dark academia and Halloween books, or books for Halloween. You know what I mean. Not sure how I feel about Effie yet as a main character. I don't dislike her or anything. I feel like she possibly has been through some trauma in her past, just based on the way that her family are. I feel like we're going to learn more about that as the book progresses, but I think there's potential for her to go through a lot of character development because she's quite introverted in the beginning. I don't want to say that she's shy, but she's quite skittish and nervous around people, and I think that's understandable if she has been through some sort of trauma. So I'm interested to see how Ava Reid handles that. So far, I am really liking this, and I'm excited to see what direction it goes in. I feel like I might have accidentally seen a sort of spoiler for something. I don't know. Basically, there's this isn't a spoiler, by the way, but there's this guy who is also at this house, and he is collecting some documents for the same university that Effie attends, and yeah, there's some tension between him and Effie. I don't remember what his name is, but yeah, there's some tension between them. I'm wondering what direction that's going to go in as well. But yeah, I won't say any more about this book because I am only 70 pages into this. I think this is a fantasy world that's inspired by Wales. There's been a lot of Welsh names mentioned. I think it is a fantasy world because there's also been another country that's been mentioned, which I think is meant to be England, possibly. Once I have more of a grip on the world building, I will let you know. But yeah, I'm liking the world building so far. This is also a standalone, which means that everything is, I mean, I'm assuming, going to be wrapped up within this volume. But I'm liking this so far. I'm excited to carry on reading. So I am now over halfway through A Study in Drowning. I am on page 235. So my plan is to try and finish this tonight. I'm actually going away this weekend. I'm catching the train to Liverpool tomorrow, and I don't want to take this with me because it's quite a nice edition. So hopefully I can sit down and read this evening. I have been reading this quite slowly. It's not really slow paced though. I think this isn't going to make sense, but the beginning built up quite slowly, but once I got to just before the halfway point, it started to move quite quickly. I don't know whether it's just because I'm more invested in it. Like, the more that I've read, the more invested I felt in the characters and in the story, but I have been trying to slow down my reading recently. It's currently the 11th of October. No, it's the 12th of October, and this is the second book that I'll be finishing this month, and I am okay with that. I haven't been like feeling slumpy or anything like that, but I've been reading quite a lot the last few months, and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't prioritising reading over other hobbies. So basically I've been playing a lot of The Sims recently, and I've been trying not to feel guilty about that because I feel like that's what my brain has needed recently. But in terms of my thoughts on this, I am really liking it. I really like the atmosphere, which I think I've mentioned already. I think I also talked about in my last update how I was worried I'd seen a spoiler for this. I hadn't seen a spoiler. I'd actually seen something that was mentioned in the Goodreads synopsis, but isn't really really mentioned in the blurb. I know it's really annoying, but I don't want to say what I'm talking about because I feel like it's not something that you really need to know going into the book. Like, all you need to know is that we're following this girl called Effie and also this guy called Preston as they are investigating stuff to do with this famous author. I'm liking it so far. I also don't think I really did Effie much justice when I was trying to explain her character earlier. She has a very soft personality and she also has a lot of anxiety and she's been through some trauma in her life, and I really like her character. I can't really explain it. I feel like I just don't read this kind of character that often in fantasy. I feel like a lot of the characters that I've been reading about recently have been more extroverted and confident, and yeah, I really like the way that Effie's character has been developed. I also really like the relationship between Effie and Preston. I really hope I've got his name right. I think they have a really interesting dynamic, and there's been a few lines that I found really cute. I think they do have good dialogue. I don't know if that made sense. I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, I am excited to finish this. I do think it's possible that I'll finish it tonight. I don't know whether I've shown this yet, but there's some large line spacing in the hardback, so even though it's 370 pages, which isn't that long, it is reading as a much shorter book than that. In terms of non-reading updates, like I said, I am going to Liverpool this weekend and I don't want to take a physical book with me, so I'm probably going to read some other books on the journey there and back, and then I'll pick up Inkblood Sister Scribe once I'm home on Sunday or Monday. I have booked Monday and Tuesday off work because work has been really busy recently and I feel like I need a couple of days to just relax. I might end up playing The Sims for 2 days instead of reading, but we'll see what I'm thinking next week. I'm also getting my hair cut tomorrow. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I haven't had my hair cut in over 6 months, so it's in desperate need of a chop. But yeah, that is everything that I wanted to update you on. I will catch up with you once I'm back from Liverpool.
If spring is the season that wakes me alive, then fall is the season to contemplate life. Oh, yeah. I don't know what is it exactly in this time of year that makes the melancholy me reappear. Oh, yeah. Back and forth through dark roast coffee, salt, mist and sea, sand and amber trees.
Good morning everyone. I am currently on day 3 of the worst hangover I have had in quite a while. So I've been feeling a little bit sluggish the past few days, but I am now back from Liverpool. I got back on Sunday night and it's now Tuesday. I didn't do much reading over the weekend as I expected. However, before I went away, I did end up finishing A Study in Drowning by Reid, which I'm going to give 4 stars. I really liked this. I thought the gothic atmosphere was perfect for autumn, so I'm really glad I decided to pick this up in October. There was part of me that was wanting more world building from this, but I don't think that would have worked for this type of story. I actually quite liked how at times I couldn't even work out whether this was meant to be our world, but in the past or in some kind of alternative dimension. Like, it blurred the reality between reality and fairy tale really well. I think if you like that type of fantasy that does feel like a fairy tale, then I would recommend picking this up. There was also some exploration of faith and religion, which I thought was done really interestingly. Like, the two main characters had very different beliefs, and especially they both had very different opinions on magic and the existence of magic. There were a couple of small things that prevented this from getting the full 5 stars. So the main thing was there were parts where I felt like the characters were doing stuff because it was clear that the plot needed to move along, but it didn't always make sense for them to be doing what they were doing. It all felt just a little bit convenient, or it didn't make logical sense. But I guess that's actually the case often with fairy tales, so I was able to look past it because I was enjoying the atmosphere, and I really liked the journey that our main character Effie went throughout this book. I felt like her character was really well written. I did want a little more development of Preston, the love interest. I felt like he was a little bit flat. It felt like he was written just to be the love interest, so that was a little disappointing, but I did like their relationship overall. I think I mentioned that this is being marketed as YA, and to me it felt like upper YA, mostly because the characters are that little bit older. I think Effie is 18 in this and Preston is maybe 19 or 20. Also, there's parts of this that feel a little uncomfortable. There are older men behaving inappropriately towards young women, and it was uncomfortable at times, so just something that I wanted to mention. But I don't see any reason why, if you're an adult, you couldn't also appreciate this book. I think as long as you know that the characters are teenagers and it stops things before taking them as far as an adult book would take them, I think as long as you know that going into the book, then there's a good chance that you would appreciate the way that the author has written this story. So yeah, 4 stars overall. Also, if you've read this book, please know how surreal it was for me to read my cousin's name over and over in this. My cousin's name is Anne Harrod, and I have never seen her full name in a book before, so yeah, that was kind of cool. But I am glad that I read this, and I have now made a start on my next book for this vlog, which is Inkblood Sister Scribe by Emma Törzs. I literally read the first 20 pages of this last night, so I don't have many thoughts, but I do like that the magic system in this feels like it's going to be to do with books and stories. I feel like I did know that before picking it up, but yeah, I am excited to get more into this this week. I'm hoping to finish it before the weekend, but I would also really like to read a couple of short stories this week, because over the weekend I convinced my friends to visit a bookshop with me, and we all bought books, and it was really cute and wholesome, and I just loved it. But I did also pick up this special edition of Out There Screaming, and it's edited by Jordan Peele. So I have seen this around recently on BookTube, and some of the authors in this, it's really exciting. So N.K. Jemisin was the main author that made me want to pick this up because I really enjoyed the 5th season and the Broken Earth trilogy when I read it this year. But there's also short stories from P. Jelly Clark. I say short stories, there's a short story by P. Jelly Clark, who again is an author that I've read from before and really enjoyed. But there's a few other authors that I've been intrigued about, including Rebecca Rowanhorse. Yeah, I'm excited to read all of these. I'm hoping to maybe read one a night or something on the run up to Halloween. I don't know whether I'm going to read the whole thing this month, but yeah, I saw this edition and they were doing 10% off for Bookshop Day, and also I can get national book tokens through my work's discount scheme. So yeah, this was meant to be £30, but I got it for like 24, and I didn't think that was too bad. Also, under the dust jacket, I'm just going to show you this. I don't know whether this is the case. Oh God. I don't know whether this is the case on the regular hardback, but I I thought that was really cool, and the staff in the bookshop that we went to were just so lovely, and it took a lot of self-restraint not to just buy loads of books. But anyway, I think that's everything that I needed to tell you, so I'm going to take myself out for breakfast because we don't have anything in the flat and I'm hungry. Then when I get home I will read some more of Inkblood Sister Scribe. I think my plan is to try and get to the 100-page mark today, so that's only 80 pages, and I think that's doable. I was just about to get ready for the gym when I realised I should probably update the vlog first, because I'm not going to want to do that once I get home. Also, it's currently chucking it down with rain, so if you can hear that, it's because I'm filming right next to the window. But I wanted to let you know my initial thoughts on Inkblood Sister Scribe, because I read over 100 pages of this yesterday. I'm currently on page 145, so I'm over a third of the way through, but not quite halfway through. And I'm really liking this so far. I can't really tell you why though, other than I really like the mystery, and there is so much intrigue. It's making me want to keep on turning the page to find out what direction it's going to go in. I have no idea at this point what direction it's going to go in, which is a little concerning considering this is, I think, a standalone. It might be a series, but I'm pretty sure it's a standalone, and by this point I would expect to have more knowledge about where we're going with this story. But honestly, I am just enjoying the characters and the atmosphere so far. Basically, in this book we're following two sisters, Esther and Joanna, and their dad, before they were even born, was a collector of these magical books. So throughout their childhood they were curious about these books, and their dad taught them about these books. I don't want to say too much because obviously I don't want to accidentally spoil anything, even though what I'm talking about is just the magic system. I didn't know much about the magic system going into this, and I've really enjoyed learning about it. But basically all you need to know is that there's these two sisters, and around 2 years ago, before the start of the book, you actually learn this in the prologue, but their father was killed, and one of the books in his collection was responsible. The two sisters have very different opinions on these books. Esther actually ran away when she was 18, so around 10 years ago. She ran away from home and she hasn't looked back since. She's never really stayed in one place until now. So now is the first time where she's finally feeling a little more settled. She lives and works on this research plant in Antarctica, which is really cool. Joanna, on the other hand, lived with their father until he passed away, and she is now the guardian of these books. So her mom left her dad back when they were like younger. So Joanna lives alone, and she has dedicated her life to protecting the books in this collection. And yeah, I really like reading about sister relationships in books. I think I've mentioned that before. Even though the sisters in this are separate, there's just so much about this that I wasn't expecting. I did read the synopsis, but the synopsis doesn't really give much away, which is why I'm trying to be careful with what I'm saying. But I just love discovering more about these books and how they work. And did I say that the books are basically spells, like they're magical books? I feel like I am not doing very well getting my words out tonight because my voice is feeling a little bit croaky, but this is really good so far. I am enjoying it, and I'm hoping to read some more tonight. But also Bake Off is on tonight. It wasn't on yesterday like it was meant to be because of the football, so I'm going to be watching Bake Off tonight. Also, Me and my partner have started watching The Fall of the House of Usher, and we're only on episode 3, but honestly there have been some scenes in the show that I am never gonna get out of my brain, which I guess you could say is good because it's a horror show, so it's meant to be impactful. Impactful? Did I say that right? I'm gonna go because I need to have a glass of water before I go to the gym, and yeah, I will catch up with you once I have some more thoughts on Inkblood Sister Scribe. So I have about 100 pages left of Inkblood Sister Scribe, and I will give you my full thoughts on this obviously once I've hopefully finished it tomorrow, but I am really liking this so far. It's interesting because I feel like this isn't really character driven, but it's also not really plot driven. Like the first half I'd say is more driven by the world building, like that's the main focus is on the magic of the world. It takes place in our world. I don't know whether I mentioned that, so there wasn't really loads of world building that needed to be done, but this second half has focused more on the plot, and the plot is related to these magical books, and I'm just finding it really fun. At this point, my prediction is that it's going to be 4 stars because I don't see how the ending is going to really surprise me. I mean, it might surprise me. There have been a few little twists and cliffhangers that have had me on the edge of my seat. I really like it as well when we as the reader learn things before the characters do. I mean, some of the characters in this have knowledge that other characters don't, and it's been really fun trying to fit the puzzle together. So yeah, really happy with how much I'm liking this. I am gonna try and finish the last 100 pages tonight, but it's currently 9:30, so I don't know whether that's going to be possible, but if not, I will read the rest in the morning and let you know what I give this in the end. I do think it's going to be a 4 stars though. So I have now finished Inkblood Sister Scribe, and I actually finished this a few days ago, but I wanted to process my thoughts because I kind of want to give this 5 stars. It came out as a 4.5 in core pile, but I'm probably going to round up for Goodreads. And the thing is, I had a few issues with this book, which I'm going to talk about in a sec, but I think if you were to ask me for my opinion on this book in, say, 3 to 6 months, I think the overwhelming feeling that I'm going to remember is how I felt towards the end of this book. I could not put it down, and I almost wish that I'd been filming my reactions to the ending, because there were parts where I was reacting and it was a little bit intense, which I liked. So the main reasons why I don't feel like I can give this a full 5 stars is because I didn't think that the characters were badly written, but I also didn't find that they had much depth. It was like each character had a few personality traits to distinguish them, but then that was as far as it went. Also, because this is a standalone, there were parts where I felt like I was just having to roll with it and accept that characters weren't spending as much time as I would have liked reacting to certain stuff. It was like there wasn't really much time for us to see them processing their feelings, but also I think that if that had been the case, then it might have dragged a little bit. So yeah, mixed feelings on that. But in terms of the romance, there is an established sapphic romance that started before the start of the book, which I thought was fine. I thought that it was okay. And then there was also another romance that was kind of hinted at, which I didn't think was really needed. I think that sometimes I'll read a fantasy book and the romantic elements aren't really adding anything to the story. Like if you'd taken out some of the romance in this, then it wouldn't have made any difference. What I'm trying to say is that I'd rather read a fantasy book that has no romance than a fantasy book that has a little bit of romance, but it's not really developed or believable, and I don't really feel invested in it. It's just kind of there for the sake of it. This is being marketed as adult, and I think actually if you're looking to get into adult fantasy, if you're used to reading YA, then I think this could be a really good bridge book to try. Although if you are in any way squeamish with anything to do with blood, then maybe skip this one. It's not like super graphic, but there are a few parts that I think might bother some people. So yeah, 4.5 stars for this, and I'm really happy that I loved this, because this was actually the last book that I got before I cancelled my Goldsborough subscription, and I'm glad that I ended up liking it, because yeah, it makes me feel like I cancelled at the right time. So yeah, the purpose of this video was to read 2 new releases that are being marketed as dark academia, and I think these are dark academia adjacent. I think that they have elements that kind of meet the aesthetic, but I don't feel like either of these are really true dark academia books. Maybe A Study in Drowning more so than Inkblood Sister Scribe. I would describe this as a mystery with fantasy elements, with just a little hint of adventure, and yeah, I think I would recommend both of these, but to very different audiences. So I think I'm gonna wrap up the vlog here. I also remembered that I didn't do a proper intro to this vlog, so I'm gonna film that now, but you will have already seen it. So yeah, that doesn't matter. I'm gonna stop rambling and say thanks for watching if you made it this far. Let me know in the comments if you've read either of these books and what you thought of them. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and click subscribe if you would like to see more videos from me, but otherwise I will see you next time. Bye!